The closing comment period for comments on the Caldecott fourth bore is July 31st, and our next meeting isn't until August 1st.
Right.
So it's appropriate to bring it this time. It was a change in the preparation of the agenda that caused me not to give this to the city manager in time for this agenda, because I would have got it out on that Thursday and it would have made the agenda, but since we moved the time up... it
No,
wasn't
and you
possible.
voted for that.
I understand that, but, you know, you just get in old habits and you're not used to it.
Got to change here with the times.
And basically speaking, now, I prepared a list of whereases that...
Can I,
Yeah.
before you get
Yeah.
into it, we have to have a
Oh, yeah,
motion
right.
to whether to add it as an emergency item.
Okay, I'd
What's
like to
your-
move that we add this as an urgency item to tonight's agenda.
Second.
And we have to vote on this, whether we
Correct.
take this. Okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Bukowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Fricke.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cassis. Mayor Atkin.
Aye.
Now, the project for the fourth bore of the Caldecott Tunnel, I mean, I'm not opposed to that as such, because, I mean, they built an 8-lane road, and they should have had 8 lanes going through the mountain. I mean, that just makes lots of sense, and they didn't do that. Then they got it up to 6 lanes, so you got a daily crew of Caltrans people out there that have to reverse the direction of traffic, and I don't know how much that costs the taxpayers. But the project to build the fourth bore is totally ignoring any pedestrian bike access through the mountain. I mean, that's a real physical impediment that you can't easily walk over or ride over, and it's an essential connection for a good part of the Bay Area. So I would like Caltrans to include a project alternative that would consider pedestrian and bike access. The East Bay Bike Coalition has been working on this for 7 or 8 years, and Caltrans just dismisses it as being outside the scope of the project, so they're not even looking at pedestrian bike access, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I think it is appropriate to oppose this project until they consider or at least look at pedestrian bike access through the tunnel, and that would be my motion.
Mayor Atkin, or Ken, what you're trying to do here is to address a comment to the environmental impact report, right?
Well, yeah, I'm expressing...
So do you really need to use a giant stick when what you really want to say is that this project should identify the needs of non-motorized transportation in a project alternative? Instead of saying, hey, we oppose your project, you don't really oppose the project, you just want them to include these alternatives. Can't we have a resolution to that effect that goes to them, rather than saying, you know, hitting him in the nose and saying, we oppose your project, just saying, this is our comment on the environmental impact report. You have neglected to include non-motorized forms of transportation.
And the comment that they've made all along is that it's outside the scope of the project, so that's the same thing that they'll say to us. So unless you oppose the project, you're not going to get any satisfaction. That's the problem, because...
But see, the dilemma for me is that I can't vote to oppose the fourth bore. I mean, I would like to have bikes and pedestrians included in the alternatives, but that fourth bore is so badly needed that I'm not going to vote as an individual council member to oppose building the fourth bore.
So then they'll say, well, okay, fine, so you're opposed to the bike access, but we'll go ahead with the project anyway, and then we'll never get access through there. If they build that... Okay.
I don't think that's...
Well, if they
But-
say that it's
well,
outside, if they say that it's outside the scope of the project, that means that they don't want to look at it. It was the same thing with the rail and the bridge. That was outside the scope of the project too, and they didn't want to look at it. Even though you had a structure that was already designed to carry trains, they didn't want to look at the, removing that capability. So I don't think it's appropriate to go through with this project unless it provides for pedestrian bike access. So therefore, I would ask that we could oppose the project unless it provides pedestrian bike access. So that would be my motion.
Second.
Call the question.
Could you restate the motion so that we can get it
Yeah,
accurate
I would
for the
like
record?
to have the council oppose the project unless it provides for pedestrian bike access.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bukowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
No.
Councilmember Fricke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cassis.
No.
Sorry,
That's all
Vice
right.
Mayor
We- I know.
Cassis. Mayor Atkin.
Aye. Any other council member reports? Meeting is adjourned.